What was the weirdest rumor you've ever heard about yourself? Story 1. That I died. I crashed my motorcycle, and no one could contact me for a bit. I got out of the hospital, and I had a bunch of memorial messages posted on my Facebook. Story 2. I was overweight as a kid. After sophomore year, I decided I wanted to lose weight and be more athletic. Spent the whole summer exercising and eating healthy, and I lost about 40 pounds, came back to start junior year, and after a week I had heard that I was dying of AIDS and cancer. Edit for all the people asking if I was in fact dying of cancer and AIDS. Yep, I died. Story 3. Somebody who I went to elementary school with told me that they thought I was so tall as a kid because they thought my mom had died when I was a young age, and somehow I turned the grief into size. My mom is still alive and well. Story 4. My principal's wife started a rumor when I was around 10 that I was hanging out with a local journalist's daughter trying to figure out who killed John Bent Ramsey using a Ouija board. My mom confronted me and quickly dropped it when she realized I had never heard of John Bent Ramsey and didn't know what a Ouija board was. Story 5. My mom was talking to a coworker. They mentioned another coworker and he said that she always feels awkward around you, my mother, because she slept with your son. Insert my name here. Naturally, she felt a little weird finding that out. One day we were hanging out, she brought it up to me and so I asked who it was. Turns out, I didn't recognize the name. I looked her up and I've never even seen her, so I have someone lying about having slept with me and my mom has heard it. Story 6. The girl that used to cut my hair at her apartment went around telling people she gave me a BJ every time she cut my hair. For the record, she never even offered once, so I don't know what she was trying to accomplish. Edit to clarify, this was years ago, and from her was the last thing I wanted. And there was no confusion between blow dry. She phrased it as his every time he comes over. Story 7. That I was pregnant and my parents had disowned me. I hadn't even had yet. I moved away for university and talked to my mom weekly if not more. I guess my great aunt needed some gossip fodder and my name popped up. She didn't realize she was talking to my friend's mom. Story 8. I have been disconnected from most of my relatives. Everyone thinks I am busy and making a lot of money. Me laughing so hard, looking at my bank balance. Story 9. When I was 12, the neighborhood Avon lady came by to drop off my mom's order one day. Avon lady told her that she had heard I had slept with all of my guy friends, including her son. She also refused to tell my mom who she had heard this rumor from. I lost my virginity at 20. Story 10. I was working as a welder for a prominent artist in NYC. After a long day of welding, I was covered in soot, and had caught on fire a few times that day, so was looking very raggedy. I ran into an old high school friend, who I hadn't seen in years. This is pre-internet, so no Facebook, etc. We talked a bit, discussed the upcoming 10-year reunion, said our goodbyes and moved on. I did not attend the reunion, but about 5 years later I ran into another old friend who was amazed I was able to climb out of the gutter and get my life together. As it happens, my friend went to the reunion and reported I was homeless and destitute, covered in filth and living on the street. Story 11. That I had gotten married and had 4 kids and a 5th on the way. This was being circulated by a guy I hadn't seen in several years. I've never been married or pregnant. Story 12. Unbeknownst to me, something was going around in high school about me dying from cancer. Became a big thing and the principal eventually called my parents about it, since the school needed to know if they had a sick student or something. Obviously they didn't know what he was talking about because I wasn't sick, and eventually had to have a meeting in the principal's office about it later that day. I walk in after being called down and they ask me why I'm pretending to be sick. I was floored at first because this was the first time I was hearing about this rumor. Had to convince them that I didn't know what they were talking about. Story 13. My parents went bankrupt, so I had to move from an expensive private school to a public school. This included completely changing neighborhoods, and my parents realizing that the private school system just wasn't for me. Public schools were considered to be a status of poor families in my old school. Few years later, MySpace became a thing, and I got to reconnect with a lot of classmates from that school. I had numerous messages telling me that everyone thought I got expelled for beating up a kid. Edit for context, I did have some friends in that previous school, but I was picked on a lot by certain other kids. I never resolved issues through violence though, so I really don't know how this rumor could even start. Story 14. I wasn't very popular in school. Then one day, for some strange reason, a rumor started spreading that I had a huge, like the size of your forearm, and I was surprised as anybody else to hear it. I'm not huge, not tiny, just average. But whispers started spreading. After that, girls wouldn't date me for a whole different reason. Story 15. That I am gay. This was started by a couple ladies who worked for me. They were aware that I am married to a woman and we have a son. They refused to accept that I was straight because I didn't flirt with them, or any other woman. I found it hilarious then and it's still hilarious now. Story 16. When I was a kid, one of my cousins spread the rumor that I sacrificed puppies to Satan. Everyone in the family believed her, including my own mom, but no one ever confronted me about it or tried to investigate or get me help. They just stopped inviting me to family gatherings or getting me birthday presents. Also, I had a puppy at the time, and she was healthy and alive, so where was I getting these puppies? Also, we were Jewish atheists, so we doubly don't believe in Satan. Years later, said cousin is under investigation for multiple homicides. Edit. She's a home nurse and all her clients die right after writing her into their will. Not sure if she's doing it or not, but there's something deeply wrong with her personality and I wouldn't be surprised. Not sure how the police investigation is going, because that side of the family still doesn't talk to me. Story 17 Too lazy to be clever is sucking D8CK for heroin. Now granted, I was a heroin addict at the time 3 years clean, but I wasn't sucking for it. I was stealing electronics from Walmart like an adult. I joke, but I am incredibly ashamed 9F that time, and have been doing everything I can since to make the world around me better, considering all I did to make it worse. Edit the prequel. Thank you for the silver. I appreciate all your comments. I read every one of them. Congrats on those others who have also gotten clean. Edit. This comment has gotten a lot of attention, so I want to add, if you're stuck in addiction right now, you duty have to be, reach out and get help. I couldn't have done it alone. You don't need to be in this anymore. It's not easy, you'll admit it, but you can get past it. If you need, message me, and I'll do what I can, point you toward resources, whatever. Just get help. It may not seem like it, but you can move past, and it's never too late until suddenly it is. Story 18 In middle school, a girl spread a rumor that I was gay because I was hanging out with my friend, who was a girl, at a party, so she told everyone she saw us kiss. Story 19 New manager at my old job told people I was a racist for not introducing myself to her in a timely manner. She's black, I'm white. She had a habit of calling a lot of people racist though, so no one took her seriously. Story 20 In MSHS, I was the unpopular kid who somehow landed a semi-hot mid-social class girl. The rumors going around were that I was forcing her to be my girlfriend or I would kill her dog. Then that turned into me abusing her emotionally and physically because she always wore long sleeves. Then people thought she broke up with me, so people thought I would shoot up the school. The rumor persisted to the point where I was not allowed to do certain activities for a few days until I got pissed and called my parents. After that, the rumor was that I threatened the principal with violence, and that is why I got to hang out with the rest of the kids at lunch again. Then the school thought me and the girl were back together because we had managed to sneak around, and half for the first time, she told her friend, and that got around school. The next day, everyone wanted her to show them her arms. They thought I beat her and raped her. We only broke up when she went to college and broke up with me the next year at Christmas. Story 21 In my high school, a rumor spread quickly that I finger-popped some popular girls in the woods. ID only ever spoke to this girl once, ironically, when I asked her if she wanted to go out. Her response: ID never date someone with your ugly name. My name isn't your typical Western Caucasian name. Anyway, as you can imagine, she was mortified and told me to tell everyone it wasn't true. I'm sure you can already guess what I didn't do. Story 22 I moved away from my hometown during the summer between 7th and 8th grade. Only a couple friends even knew I was going to be moving, but I came back a year later to visit family and saw some friends, and they said they heard that I had killed my parents and then disappeared. Kinda crazy what kids would think up. Story 23 My brother came out as gay when we were both in high school. Our shitty religious aunt found out and sent a letter to our home about a gay reprogramming camp. She suggested both my brother and I get sent because I was probably gay too. I'm a woman, had the same high school boyfriend for 3 years at that time, and am currently married to a man. I have no idea why she thought I was gay, other than maybe her dumb thinks being gay is contagious. Story 24 That I was a witch, and I sacrificed a bunny. I was 14, so hey, race the story. I was super shy. We moved when I was in the middle of my freshman year, into an ammo plant base, military housing but not military town. Dad got promoted to full-time in the National Guard. Just so happened to be many other teens living on base. Right next door to us was a 14-year-old boy. He had long hair, and I immediately got a crush on him. He asked me out a week after we moved in, but what I didn't know was that he had an on-again off-again thing going with a girl who lived 2 houses down. She befriended me my first day of school. When he asked me out, I gushed about it to her. She and the other girl said nothing to me that she still had feelings for him, so he and I dated for several months, and had a fight and broke up. It lasted less than a weekend, but in that time she tried to swoop in and get him back. I still had no idea, but he decided I was the better option. At this point she tells her super religious parents that I'm a witch, and this dead bunny she found in the park nearby was sacrificed by me, to keep the guy my boyfriend. Her parents came over to talk to my parents. I came out of my room a couple times and they got quiet, but I was oblivious. Then they leave and my parents come to talk to me. I was really confused, and at first couldn't believe my friend would say this about me. Of course it gets around the whole school. I was too quiet to defend myself, unless someone asked me specifically. I didn't even know all the details until her best friend decided she had enough of her crazy, and became my friend. Apparently she had been getting to know me only to undermine me to this boy the whole time, and when he chose me over her, when she thought she had finally won him back in a contest I didn't even know about, she lost it. It was really weird, and how she came up with that, I have no idea. In the end, the boy moved away, and she got a bad reputation for being crazy. I wasn't the only person she had attacked, so eventually people just forgot her rumors. She ended up switching schools for it a year later. Story 25 In high school I heard a rumor that I had spent the Easter playing Pokemon and making out with this really socially awkward guy. He started the rumor. I am a guy, and still to this day I don't know what was up with that, but at least username checks out. Story 26 One of my friends convinced the majority of the 7th grade that I had a pet camel I kept in my shed. One of the younger kids told me I was mean for not bringing it to school. Story 27 That I was an Iraqi spy. I'm Dominican, and my ancestry is very mixed, so I look very ethnically ambiguous. Most commonly, people think I'm South Asian or Middle Eastern or North African. I was in the Navy from 2000 to 2004, and I was stationed overseas in Japan from 2001 to 2004 at Akamsta. and so I was on shore command and often walked around on base and had an apartment off base. After 9/11, I'd get weird emails from people and strange looks. Come to find out, there was a rumor going around from my command and other shore commands and even some ships that there was an Iraqi woman at Comsta and that I was a spy and connected to bin Laden somehow. Never mind that I had a top secret clearance and had to do numerous interviews with NCIS. Well, it was weird. Story 28. I was out of school for a week in the 3rd grade, and by the end of that week I was getting lots of voicemails on our home phone from classmates, friends, and parents of friends saying that they hope I get better. One call included my best friend sobbing about how much she loved me and that she's heard I'm not going to make it. I had head lice. My mom called the school and just said that I would be gone for medical reasons. 3rd graders come up with some pretty extreme conclusions, my dude. Story 29. That a certain guy had cheated on his girlfriend with me. I had never spoken to that guy or his girlfriend in my life, so no idea where that came from. Story 30. I broke up with a guy in June, moved 900 miles away in August, and came back to see the following May. My old manager told me that someone said I got married. I wasn't even gone a year and I was only 19 at the time. Story 31. I guess mine weren't too weird, but they just pissed me off in high school. The rumor that I was gay went around. That was false. In 8th grade, someone asked me what church I went to. They had never heard of an Episcopal church, so we labeled a Satanist for a while. My GF and I work in the same place. 175 people, men and women, age ranging from 16 to 60. Of course I'm going to make friends. Someone took it upon themselves to tell people I plan on leaving my GF, which caused a pretty huge uproar. I was a supervisor for a while and had to tell an employee not to gossip about her peers. She started telling people I repeatedly hit her in the arm and the back for no reason. HR got involved. Couldn't find evidence for or against her claim, so we both got written up. And lastly, but not leastly, I was diagnosed with cancer a few years ago. Chemo, bald, scans, the whole 9 yards. One of my employees at the time told people I would faking the whole thing just to get out of work. I was pretending to be sick for sympathy. Sorry Jared, you fucky, I was dying a little faster than you. I promise it wasn't for sympathy. Story 32. My epilepsy medicine causes me to have red eyes and look tired, especially in mornings. Pair that with my early high school times back in the day and riding bus 420. Apparently I was the big drug dealer of my high school. Story 33. Finally, my answer for this has changed. It used to be that I was the village bicycle because everyone's had a ride, which was weird because I had not even kissed a guy yet. This was before Austin Powers came out, so he wasn't just quoting the movie. My new answer is that I'm apparently a very toxic person who uses people, and when not if my boyfriend breaks up with me, I'm going to rush to steal my friend from his wife because he's my backup plan. I could go into the myriad reasons why her assessment is faulty, but it's probably pretty boring if you're not me. Story 34. It was rumored that I didn't wear underwear. I earned the nickname Commando. I did wear underwear, I just didn't have a belt so my pants kept pulling them down. That was about as popular as I'll ever be in person. Edit. This was in middle school, like 15 years ago. Story 35. I have a reputation anywhere I go, work or my social circles, as a gossip. I hate it because it absolutely is not true. I do not gossip, but that's all I ever hear. Oh, ask him, he knows everything. Pisses me off. I'm not a gossip. Why I have that reputation. It's false, and I don't like it. Story 36. 2 years after I graduated high school, some kid informed me that I was a legend for swapping my faculty-approved graduation speech out with a shockingly rebellious address instead. Except the speech I gave went through the approval process and went off without a hitch. The speech was pretty mundane. It just leaned more toward okay, we're finished here. Now time to get real done, instead of the checklist of religious references and sugary nostalgia that were the usual standard. Story 37. That I was special needs because I hung out with the special needs students a lot. What? Most people knew me and knew I wasn't special needs at all, but it kept up. Another one was that my twin brother and I were gay lovers because we're from California. This was when I first switched schools out of state, and that kept up until the teachers heard about it and made it a point to speak to the entire class about it. Story 38. I was once approached with a question if I wanted to become a hand-to-hand combat instructor, because you are the only person crazy enough to kill a person with your bare hands. Story 39. Background. I manage a restaurant, and we have a regular who orders to go a lot. She tries to take advantage and get tons of free stuff every time. I have shut her down. She's complained. I threatened to ban her, but she apparently can't live without our food. She started going to another location. I temporarily transferred there. She showed up, freaked out, started going back to the original location. I transferred back. It pissed her off. Relevant story. After yet another incident in which I denied her tons of free stuff, she wrote a letter to corporate to try to get me in trouble. She claimed I had touched her. God no, she disgusts me, and told me she heard a rumor that I got fired from Chili's for raping one of my waitresses. It was a really weird rumor, seeing as I have never worked for Chili's and have never been fired before. Didn't matter, I was safe, considering my current boss was also my boss at my last job. Story 40. I used to work at this company owned by some Jewish brothers. The eldest son was my age and worked in the same office. One day during Lent, another co-worker Catholic accidentally ate beef on a Friday, which caused raucous office laughter. The son offered his missteps as a Jew, eating milk and beef on same plate, eating shellfish, etc. And I jokingly remarked that he's a naughty Jew. Well, he heard me say dirty Jew, and escalated the issue to the president, my direct boss, who wanted me to apologize. I didn't because it wasn't true. Eventually the anti-Semite rumors started, and on my last day working there the two owners called me into their office, and simply asked me, so you have a problem with Jews? Story 41. I got my nipples pierced. I was best friends with two other women in college. One of them posted on Facebook, nothing like going with your best friend to get her nipples pierced. I was out of town working on a project and didn't have my computer. This was before everyone and their mom had smartphones, so I came back that night to 100 FB messages like, OMG, why would you do that? It was the other friend. People looked at my friend's status, thought, it's either captain or other friend, and they all decided I was the one more likely to get her nipples pierced. Story 42. Got really thin over the summer, then missed the first 4 weeks of school because of appendicitis and then infections. When I got back some people thought I had leukemia and some thought I'd died. Didn't get any sympathy, just people being cruel and blaming me for the rumor, when I hadn't been in contact with anyone from school at all. Also sucks that people thought I'd died and yet nobody posted on my FB or called me to check or anything. Story 43. I grew up on a farm, and my parents had lots of different animals. I once overheard on the bus that my family had so many dogs because we raise and eat them like our cattle. Story 44. That I dressed in drag on the weekends. I was a chemist working in a lab in the South, and I'm pretty sure it was started by some of the hyper-conservatives I worked with after letting them know that it's not okay to be hateful and bigoted against gay people. Story 45. When I was a teenager I went to a girls' school. We had a father-daughter dance at a hotel downtown. While there, my best friend and I met two guys who were in town for an Angels and Airwaves concert and were staying at the hotel. We ended up sneaking off for a bit to their hotel room for a beer and a few puffs on a joint before heading back to the dance. Somehow this got twisted into a rumor that we had met and smoked crack with Tom DeLonge and Mark Hoppus of Blink 182 in their hotel room. Story 46. That I got sent to prison for having one of Uday Hussein's gold-plated AKs. It was actually a friend of mine. The charge incidentally was that it was full auto. Story 47. That I steal and have no dignity. There was this crazy girl with long black hair at my school, so I had my friends, one of which looked like Elvis, but don't say anything about his hair, he gets mad gossip about me in front of her, so she wouldn't like me anymore. It didn't work and she ended up kidnapping me. Story 48. That my husband and I were getting married so quickly. To be fair, we met and got married in under 12 months, and that's genuinely fast, we agree. But 4 years strong and happier than when we first met, even, so because I was 1, pregnant, and 2, the child of religious extremist parents who were afraid that I was getting old. I was 24, and so forced me to bamboozle a foreign guy into marrying me so I wouldn't be a spinster. I was definitely not pregnant, I was not old, and my parents lived their lives with faith in God, but are far from gimlet-eyed religious extremists. This rumor was started by a girl we barely know and is peripheral to our social circle, and even attended our wedding. What the actual heck, Catherine? Story 49. I shared an apartment with my cousin in Western New York. I went to school there but would work in NJ during the summer at the shore. After the second summer I decided to move to NJ permanently. My cousin decided that this would be a great opportunity to tell everyone we knew that I had joined the Marines. I got messages from friends and acquaintances for over a year thanking me for my service and telling me to stay safe, etc. It took him 6 months intentionally to let me in on the joke. If I didn't correct someone or respond to them out of pure confusion, he would tell them some story about how I was injured in the field of duty. My cousin forced stolen valor upon me. Story 50. In high school, a girl spread a rumor that I had caught an STD from her. This was because I turned down her advances at a homecoming dance. It seemed pretty counterproductive on her end. Story 51. That I promoted a woman because I was sleeping with her. I'm a lesbian, so that's not completely unthinkable. I'm also married to an amazing woman whom I would never even think of cheating on. My staff knows this. The woman in question is not LGBTQ, and also has a partner. I honestly have no idea how or why the rumor was started, and sadly it got to her before it got me. I promoted her because she's a hard worker and does a good job, and this petty, stupid rumor cheapened the whole thing. Story 52. Rumor 1. That my twin and I were actually quadruples, and even the quad squad from AFV. Rumor 2. Had demonstrated some Brazilian jiu-jitsu moves to my JROTC friends. Friend, you know how some guys say they can kill you with their bare hands? Some guy, yeah. Everyone says that. Friend points at me. Well, that guy can actually do it. Rumor 3. Because I was a twin, I was the cool twin and my brother was the weird twin, so every time one of us did something weird, it was always pinned on my brother. My high school experience was pretty nice, but my brother hated it. Story 53. Not weird, but a guy at the restaurant I used to work at started a rumor that I have a big penis, which is nice, because I am above average in size, but it's douchey if I say that to girls I work with. Definitely got me laid and a few BJs just because of that. Rumor stuck around for like 4 years after he left the restaurant. Thanks, John. Probably best wingman ever, and he didn't even know it. Story 54. In high school there was a rumor going around that my youngest sibling was actually the son I gave birth to the summer before freshman year. I was in band. Y'all know I knew nothing about the mechanics involved in making a baby. Story 55. Back when I was Mormon, I was a missionary. Got around that I'd get possessed at night and terrify other missionaries. I just talk in my sleep when stressed, but apparently am fluent in Portuguese cussing. Story 56. I've been accused at work a few times for making meth or drugs of some kind. I'm a cosmetic chemist, so I make things like lotion and shampoo. My nickname is now Heisenberg. Story 57. At an office party, I got a bit drunk and high and started flirting with one of the girls from another floor. who I hardly knew, we went to the basement and she gave me it was marvelous. She mentioned how much she liked I jokingly said that it will be our secret. She said that it does not need to be that way. Since that night I had girls smiling and talking to me that would never even look at me. When I hooked up with her again, she proudly said that my delicious is now the talk of the girls at the office. One time I was in one of those giant group chat arguments over Messenger, and some kid goes, "Yo, I heard you fingered your dog." I laughed so hard, because like out of every lie you could make up about someone you go for that. Story 58. The rumor was that I had a huge cocaine habit. I've never touched the stuff and wouldn't even know where to get it. My twin spread the rumor after a huge fight, as cocaine habit made me look worse than working 2 jobs and sending all the cash back home to the family. When the question, "Hey, why is the guy always completely run down and tired?" came up, I only found out because one of the usual crew passed along the news. I actually relocated, because life's too short. Story 59. I was a pretty nerdy gal in high school. You can imagine the typical Harry Potter diehard fan, running through the corridors and casting spells with my pencil wand. Needless to say I got a lot for it. Someone spread the rumor that I was dating Daniel Radcliffe and people actually bought it. Edit. I live nowhere near the UK and I was 14 at the time. Story 60. That I had herpes and loved doing lines of coke off my dad's. I had people coming up to me at work asking if it was true. 1. No. 2. Why are you approaching me at work? 3. I don't even know you people. Story 61. I was sick for a week at school, and when I came back people had thought I had gone on an overseas holiday because apparently some little was telling everybody that he knew me and I said to him that I was gone on holidays. Story 62. A girl in high school told everyone that I wore a colored contact lens for attention. No, I just have one green eye and one blue eye. It's really no big deal, unless I point it out, or you're close up to me you just assume they're blue. Story 63. It's kind of odd because this just came up a couple of hours ago, but hey race mine, when I was 15 or 16 years old I got blackout drunk in public. I ended up fighting a couple cops and kicking the window out of a cruiser. When I got out of the jail they sent me to, I went back to high school like kids do. At the end of the week I was talking to this kid I'd met a few times. We didn't know each other by name. The conversation went like this: "Him, did you hear about whatever the fuck credit account him logged into right now?" Me, "Probably, what are you talking about?" Him, "Dude, he died." Me, "I don't think that happened." Him, "No, I'm serious. It's all anybody is talking about. Apparently he got into a big fight with the cops last week. It turned into a shootout and they killed him. That's why he hasn't been around." Me, "Well that sucks. Not the only crazy rumor I heard about myself, but it's by far the wildest. Small towns, man." Story 64. Lost contact with my mother's side of family. They always seem to never contact me back, or be busy etc. For more than 20 years or so, never saw them. Mum died and I eventually ended up catching up with my aunt on her side. Turns out my mother had told her entire family I was screwing my father and my oldest son was my dad's. So that's why they avoided me. Have now set them straight. Turns out my mother told many other lies, and lots of stuff I had no idea about. Story 65. I died. I did get into a car accident shortly after graduating high school. Me and my GF were fine luckily. Now she's my wife actually. Then later I ran into some people from HS and they actually thought I had died in the car accident. Apparently many people from HS thought this. It was interesting. Story 66. I was out from high school for 2 weeks because I got severely sick autoimmune disease. When I got back, people thought I had SARS or flu. Others thought I gave birth. People started avoiding me because they thought I was contagious with SARS. Story 67. In HS some kids started spreading a rumor that he and I would go fight with Asians late at night, surrounded by their fast and furious style cars for money. It was a very odd rumor that I didn't even have to deny due to its absurdity. Story 68. That over the winter break I got a job. I was in 5th grade with a DD cup, but I had them from the beginning of the year. I overheard a boy in my class tell another I had a job because they moved when I walk. It followed me till 6th grade. Story 69. When I was 13, someone told my whole class that I was kissing making out for money. Obviously that was not true. I was virgin back in this time TBH. I don't know why or where this came from, however it was really stressful. I was just a nerdy ugly person and from this day on I've got to be a nerdy ugly person with a very up head. Story 70. Not me but my brother. A rumor went around our school that he was suspended for stealing his teacher's car and doing burnouts on the playground. He has actually sworn at her. He was 9 years old at the time. Story 71. I've been the other man in 3 of my co-workers' relationships. Makes me grin every time someone tells me they're so leery of me. I'm not that sociable. Story 72. A guy at work started telling everyone that I had a 12-inch. Apparently I walked around like I had nothing to prove, so I must have a big, that was 4 years ago, and he still tells every new employee that I have a 12-inch, and he's quite convincing, and I wish I did. Story 73. In 7th grade my agriculture teacher had a drill press that sat on a movable table. One day while I was sitting in a chair sanding a house I built he came by with the drill press table, and it snagged a wire on the floor and fell. I was sitting right where the drill press fell and it struck me in the left arm. So I had to be taken to the hospital and get a few staples in my arm. Well, when I came back to school there were a slew of rumors from people saying that I took a saw and tried to saw my arm off to people thinking that someone attacked me. Story 74. My favorite was that I'm gay. Even though I had a girlfriend at the time, only had girlfriends prior to that, and continued to have girlfriends after that. Really not sure how that even started, but it went through quite a few people before I had even heard that I apparently played ball for the other team. Someone asked if I was dead a couple months ago, and that was hilarious. This person who sucks BTW asked my friend if I was dead, and his answer was extremely ambiguous as to whether I was alive or not, which made it way funnier to me cause unless she asked other people she might still think I'm dead. Story 75. Most of the responses are when I was in school. This is from work, as in over 40 have been working at the same place for 19 years. A girl from work I like, as in like starting to sound like high school, and I are out at a bar just chillin' as we're friends have been for about 3 years by this point when we start talking about exes for some reason. I start listing them off. When I'm done she tells me I forgot one, which confuses me as I haven't dated anyone for as long as we've worked together. I certainly listed all of the major players. She then tells me I forgot Jody, which makes me laugh a bit. Because she was pretty much my work wife. I correct her as we never did anything even slightly romantic. Fact is, out of the 10-ish years she worked there we only ever met up by ourselves outside of work twice. Every other time was with coworkers. This girl who I like then tells me one of the first things she was told when she started working there was Jody I were a thing. I keep way away from the rumor mill at work. Yes, we are a professional organization. Yes, people still act like kids, so I have no idea what people think of me as a person morally, especially since Jody went through a divorce while she was employed with us. But if my friend was told this day one, I'm sure many others have been told this as well. Sigh.